at Good Game Spawn Point, we've had so many great gaming moments, it's hard to remember them all.
So we've cast our brains back to GGSP's not too distant past and rustled up some of our favourite reviews, adventures, and all-around best bits from the last few years.
So, in case you missed them, we present to you GGSP ICYMI. That's Good Game Spawn Point, in case you missed it.
Has anyone got any campfire stories?
Yeah, I've got one. It's about an alien who once sat around a campfire just like this. They were young and excited to travel off into space and see what they could learn. But then something happened, and they found themselves stuck in a time loop, reliving the same day again and again, trying to solve a mystery before a supernova would wipe the slate clean, and they'd wake up right back at the campfire again.
Oh, I've got goosebumps. Oh, what's the story called?
It's called Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds is a highly ambitious open-world space exploration game by Mobius Digital.
This is one of those rare and special games where the less you know, the better. So much of this game relies on its absolutely riveting mystery, so we'll try and give you a spoiler-free review.
You spend most of your time exploring a handful of planets. Each planet is very distinct, and the first time you visit is utterly magical. There's always some wonder to behold, and something on the horizon that you just have to go and look at. I was constantly distracted by something cool I'd spotted.
Yeah, it feels like they've somehow captured the feeling of discovery, bottled it up, and put it straight into this game.
However, for a game all about exploration, it's not very easy to explore. The movement in the game, whether you're flying in your ship or zipping about with your jetpack, is based on real physics and gravity, so it can be very difficult to control. I had to revisit places so many times because I kept stuffing up my flight. It became a little tedious. I just don't like feeling like I'm fighting with the game.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and it's because they've opted for a simulation style of movement. Out in space, everything is always in motion, and there's no atmosphere to slow you down. That means you have to decelerate as much as you accelerate. On top of that, every planet has its own gravity field, which affects your movement. As frustrating as I found it, it was extremely satisfying once I finally got the hang of it and managed to land on some floating structures in space. It took some time.
Yeah, I heard both of your screams of frustration while playing this, but to be honest, I kind of liked it. It made me feel like I was properly in space, you know, struggling to survive as a space explorer, and that's kind of the dream come true.
Oh, fair enough. I felt like kind of a space detective, collecting little clues at each location and trying to piece together what happened and is happening in this universe. Everything is surprising and intriguing and woven together really nicely.
And thankfully, if you forget anything, you can always check your ship log, if you're in your ship. All the important information is automatically stored for you, and it also indicates if there's more to discover at a location you've already visited, which is great because there is a lot to remember.
And it's all important, because the magic in this is how well the story is fleshed out. And y'all know I love a good story. This is a good one.
Well, the story is great, but the thing that really grabbed me was the music. One of the few tools you have in the game allows you to listen to and hone in on various sound frequencies. This lets you follow music to find other explorers from your colony who have gone before, like a siren song, but less deadly. Being pulled across the vastness of the galaxy to a warm and friendly little campfire just got me in the feels. Plus, give me a twangy banjo and I'm just hooked.
The music plays such a big part in setting the tone of the game. They've combined a salt-of-the-earth, warm and wooden aesthetic with the wonder of vast, cold space, and I'm so here for it. A wooden spaceship was the missing part of my space fantasy that I never knew I needed.
I find the more we talk about Outer Wilds, the more we discover that there's something a little different we each found really special, but that we all found the overall experience so memorable. I just wish it was a little easier to get around, maybe a little less realism in the movement physics. I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5 rubber chickens.
While the game is definitely beautiful in its cartoony style, it's also easy to look at and think this is just a playful romp around space. But it's so much deeper than that, with a rich mystery and a truly breathtaking surprise around just about every corner. I'm giving Outer Wilds 5 out of 5 rubber chickens.
Time is used so well in this game, and it's arresting to play something where the whole world is one giant puzzle. And the delight I felt as I grew to understand more was quite magical. One thing I desperately hope they patch in is a way to instantly restart the day, because that would have been so handy. But I'm giving Outer Wilds 4.5 out of 5 rubber chickens. Will, your marshmallow's burning.
Don't eat that.
Okay.
Okay, finally found my good controller. Just gotta find my Yoshi. Yeah, here he is. Okay, where's my controller? I just had it. I just put it down. Where did it go? I had it a second ago. It was right here. What? Wait, where's that music coming from?
Music. It's such a big part of every game. From tense, dramatic moments to walking softly down a path, music is always there. But who are the musical maestros who make this music? And how do they go about doing it? To find out, we're going on a learning excursion, or a Learnscursion. Today, I'm dropping in at the Otherworld Agency in Melbourne to find out what it takes to make music for games. Why is music so important in video games?
Music can do many things in video games. It can accent gameplay, it can drive narrative. A lot of what music can do with narrative is that it can basically almost tell you how to feel at times. I mean, you know, sad moments can become even more sad with music, and happy moments can become even more happy with music. So, you know, it's a very powerful tool.
How much music needs to be made for a single video game?
Well, it really depends on the actual video game itself. Some video games, like let's say on your mobile or something like that, maybe don't need that much music. You know, it might only be about 30 seconds sort of on loops and things like that. Whereas like some bigger games like Mario or something like that, like they're gonna need like a lot more music because it's a longer experience. So it does depend on the game.
What are some of the advantages of being able to work directly with a developer to make music specifically for their game, rather than having them use, say, production music?
Well, when I'm brought onto a project, what I always try and do first as the composer is try and find a very specific signature for a video game that people can identify with immediately. A good example would be Final Fantasy, and they always have like a very sort of similar sort of opening melody where it has like that sort of dun 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 dun. That's almost like you're sort of identifying now with a particular sort of franchise or brand. And the advantage of that is that it becomes a lot more engaging.
How much do you need to know about making games in general to be able to compose for games?
Music typically is difficult to express in words, especially for people that don't come from a musical background. So I find it very useful for any musician, sound designer, composer, any audio person to be able to speak gamer a little bit, because that can actually really help you get your ideas across to them as well. So there's a lot of advantages to be able to sort of speak in sort of terms that developers understand. Communication is key. You want to have as much trust from a developer as possible. Through that, they sort of allow me to sort of suggest ideas to them the way that I think it might work. Of course, you also need to listen always. If they don't like a direction, or if they don't think that it's working, you've got to respect that, and you've also got to sort of make it work for them. And you've got to work with the project, make sure that the project's needs are ultimately sort of met.
So do you think that I could compose some music for a video game?
I definitely think so, Rad. I think we just need to give it a try.
Okay, well, let me give you a little bit of a melody. How about...
All right, let's see what we can do with that. So it's a bit mysterious, isn't it?
It
It could be
is.
like a nice little forest or something like that. And then I think we should just put a little bit of cello over the bottom, just to give it a little
deeper.
just to like ground it, you know. So. And there you go. We've got a little melody going for us now.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. So basically, you can just come up with the most like sort of basic ideas, just a little piano thing, and you can just sort of make it into anything. You just have a little bit of practice, a little bit of experience, and then you can just sort of create this in about 5 seconds. Now we got our track.
Do you have any advice for spawnlings who might want to get into composing for video games?
Well, you have to be really, really passionate. You know, if you have that passion to create video game music, then you're going to find a way. You can go online, you can look at files on YouTube and things like that. There's forums to show you how to write things a certain way or to discover new technologies that you need to use. But be passionate, find your own style, and sort of never, ever, ever give up, so to speak, as cliche as that sounds.
It's amazing how much a simple tune can change the emotions in a game. The hard work and creativity of composers is astounding, and the richness they bring through their music is subtle, but really important. I, for one, would hate to think what games would be like without it.
Welcome back, Craftlings, to another episode of Crafternoons, back by executive demand. Over here in our crafty little corner of GGSP, we're inspired to make cool custom creations from your favourite video game series. Today, I'm diving into the freezing waters of Subnautica Below Zero to create a miniature of my sweet-beaked baby boy, Sneezy. If you don't know Sneezy, he's a little pangling that I adopted as my own, whilst roaming the Arctic in Subnautica. I'm gonna call you... Sneezy! I'm gonna call you Sneezy. Check out my adventures with my precious in 2 of my Subnautica live streams available online. And while you're there, head over to our website to download a checklist and step-by-step guide for today's episode. So like with our Cuphead figurines, we're gonna be using this bad boy right here, air drying clay. Remember to wear appropriate clothing that you don't mind getting dirty. So first things first, we grab our craftsarsenal and grab the following items. A pick of Sweet Boy Sneezy, your preferred type of clay, any unused containers, a toothpick, an old cloth or small towel, some paints and brushes, and your resident grown-up, if you're using an oven to bake your clay. Oh, Darren, no cupcakes?
No, not today, Tim. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a Leviathan to disintegrate.
Okay, but could you bring back some cupcakes?
Negative.
Step 1, the humble beginnings of Sneezy. Before we get rolling, literally, cover your desk with a tablecloth or some newspaper. Now, grab your reference picture of Sneezy and circle the parts that you need to make. We need to make the body, the beak, flippers, feet, a tail, 2 big eyes, and 2 smaller eyes. Let's start with the body. Grab a palm-sized chunk of clay and start out by rolling it into a small ball by applying pressure with your palms. Roll it until it's smooth, but be careful if you're using air drying clay not to work it too much or it will start to dry up. Squish the clay ball with your thumb and forefinger and shape it into a little marshmallow. Cover it with a damp cloth to keep it from drying out. If you have any leftover bits of clay, place them into the container with some water to make some clay paste. This will help bind the pieces together in the next step. Step 2, flip it. Or don't. Let's start off by scoring one section of the marshmallow. To create the flippers in the tail, we want to mould them into a little teardrop shape. Roll 3 balls and flatten them with your fingers slightly. Pinch one end like so and shape accordingly. Score it, dab with a bit of clay water, then attach. Repeat with all 3. Then place Sneezy upright and check that he's levelled. Take a brush with some clay water and blend the feet and tail to the body. Just be careful not to overload him with too much water or he might stick to the table. Step 3. To beak or not to beak? That is the question. To make the beak, take a slightly smaller sized chunk of clay, let's say this much, and roll it into a ball. Then we want to use our palm again to roll it into a log and pinch one end like so. Grab your toothpick, cut off any excess and score it. Dab a bit of water on both of the scored sides and attach carefully. Smooth down with your fingers to cover up any cracks. And keep them nice and cold with a wet cloth. Step 4, creating the eyes and wings.
Now, checking back to our reference picture of Sneezy, we can see that there are a pair of eyes just above the wings and 2 on the chest. Grab the main body and score where you want to position the eyes. Roll out 2 smaller bits of clay, then press down lightly with your thumb. Score the back of each eye, dab with the clay water and attach to the main body. Repeat with the smaller bits to create the second pair of eyes. Now for the wings, roll out another set of clay balls and shape with your thumb and forefinger to create a flattened oval shape. Measure against the body and pinch off any excess. Then shape the flipper to your liking. Score the main body so that the wings will be at equal height. And you know what to do. Score, dab, attach, and repeat. Finally, grab your brush and smooth it down with clay water. Check back with your reference picture to adjust the shape to your liking. Now you have to wait for him to dry completely before we can paint him. So, in the meantime, let's play some Subnautica. And another one. Oh, look at you. You're gonna come home with me. Now, the drying process will take at least a day, but be patient and thou shalt receive great results. Step 5, go wild. Once your figure is completely dry and not wet to the touch, paint a white base coat, then let it dry before the next coat. We need a light blue and a bright blue for Sneezy's fur, purple for the beak, yellow for his big, beautiful eyes, and pink to paint in the accents on his wings and beak. Don't worry about getting it perfect. Imperfections are what make it unique. We now want to create some black outlines around the eyes. You can use a black marker if you're unsure about using black paint. And there you go! My favourite furball Sneezy comes to life as a clay miniature. No. Use this method again to create another Pengling, like Wheezy, or create other fauna in Subnautica, like this peeper or whole fish. If you like to go craft crazy like me, go ahead and make a big Sneezy. And just because we're extra, we added some glow-in-the-dark paint so they can light up the night. And that's it for our Subnautica-inspired clay figurines. If you want to send us a photo of your crafty creations, or if you want to see me create more figurines from one of your favourite video games, then send us an email at ggsp@your.abc.net.au. So we'll see you next Crafternoon. Aw, I love you. We hope you enjoyed reliving some of these awesome GGSP moments.
Don't forget to check us out online for more GGSP goodness. Catch you next time. Rat out.
Gem out.